If we haven't met before, my name is Mike Potter, owner of True Wealth Financial, and I'd like to welcome you to the True Wealth Show. I believe that having a comprehensive and robust plan, retirement, and really life in general, can be prosperous, enjoyable, and purposeful. But a lot of people struggle with navigating that path into retirement, and there's a lot of pitfalls and traps that you need to be aware of. My goal here is to help Christians plan and optimize their retirement so that they can retire with confidence. I appreciate you taking the time to tune in. So what's the first thing that you have to understand about retirement? It's simply this, that in retirement, everything changes. Everything changes in retirement. And I want to give you just 4 simple examples of what I mean by that. And then I think that'll help give you an idea. So things that'll change, number 1, obviously, is time. And so what I like to say about retirement is that in retirement, every day is a Saturday. Think about it. When you're working normally Monday through Friday, that's pretty structured. You get up around the same time, you go to work at the same time, you take the same path to work, you eat lunch around the same time, you come home the same time, you do your activities, you cook dinner, you do your things at night, and you go to bed the same time. You have a very structured time, very structured schedule, Monday through Friday. But come the weekend, come Saturday specifically, you can sleep in, you can do what you want to do. You have a lot more time, a lot more flexibility. Normally, because people are working Monday through Friday, they spend time on Saturday running errands, doing grocery shopping, cleaning the house, home projects, and stuff like that. But in retirement, you don't have that structure Monday through Friday. And so therefore, every day is like Saturday. You can wake up when you want. You can do what you want. You don't have to cram all your errands into one day because you could do them whenever you want. And normally on Saturdays, it's the biggest shopping day. Right? If you see how much Americans spend among every day of the week, it is by far the most on Saturday because they have the most amount of free time. You'll no longer have to cram everything into that one day. Now you have basically 40 to 60 hours, depending on your actual commute and how much time you have to get ready. And so now you have that big block of time that's open to you, and you can do whatever you want to do. But the challenge is, what are you going to do with it? Because if you don't have something to fill that time, that's a lot of time to just sit around and do nothing. So the number one thing that's going to change in retirement for sure is time. The way you view your week, your month, and your years. So example number 1 of what's going to change is the way you perceive time. The second thing that's going to change in retirement is that of your relationships or maybe your social interactions, right? Think about, for most people, there's probably a lot of friends or acquaintances, or at least maybe you talk to at work, right? And so it creates a structured mechanism to have interaction with people. But again, if you take that structure away and now it's gone, you have to replace that somehow from a relational perspective. So a lot of people will try after they retire. It's especially challenging if you have friends that are still working and you're retired. They'll try to get together at lunch or in the evenings or whatever. But again, they're still operating in that Monday through Friday structured approach, and they're trying to jam you into it. Whereas you have a lot of free time, and a lot of times you'll see that those don't relate to each other. You're going to struggle there. And so now you have to have new ways of interacting with people and meeting with people because that structured approach you have essentially is gone. Another way it changes your relationship with your spouse. If you're married, right, normally you go to your job, they go to their job, you'd have the evenings and the weekends. But now you're together all the time, which may be great until it's not, right? So it all depends on, is it like, oh man, I'm sick of her. I'm tired of him. I need some more time. I need some alone time to get away, right? All those relationships begin to change and to shift. Or for some people, it's, hey, we've been so busy these last 40 years with kids and relationships. It's time to really get to know this person even more, reconnect and go deeper in our relationship. And so having that time is a great thing. It kind of all just depends. But here's the thing. Your relationships are going to change. Your social interactions are going to change. You're going to have to be more intentional about the relationships you have and what you do to interact with people because the natural flow of things has kind of been disrupted, which, like everything in retirement, can be a challenge or a great blessing, right? It's up to you to decide which it is. Everything is gone. And that's the point of this show, is to help you understand that everything in retirement changes. It's a blank canvas, and you get to decide now what life is going to look like, not only from your time, but also from your social interactions and your relationships. Hey, if you find this information helpful here, do me a favor, hit the like button to let me know that you'd like to see more things like this. Plus, it's a great way to say thank you. I'd appreciate it very much. And so the third example I want to give you about how everything changes in retirement is that of your identity. Basically, your identity is the man or woman that you see in the mirror, who you believe you are. We've talked about that before, about how your identity interacts with money. And here's the thing. Who are you going to be now, right? Blank slate, clean canvas. You get to decide, who do you want to be? A lot of people identify themselves as the profession or the job they used to be. Like, think about when you meet new people, they'll say, "Oh, so what do you do?" And you say, "Oh, I'm a mechanic, or I'm an accountant, or I'm a teacher." Well, if you've now left that profession and you've left that career or you've left that organization, what do you say now? They say, "Oh, what do you do?" You say, "Oh, I'm retired." Maybe that's the answer. Or maybe now you have a new identity, or now I get to be the best grandmom, or now I get to volunteer at this organization. I've always wanted to do that. Or now we help this cause, right? What is it that you want to be now going forward? Because your structured identity has kind of been taken away from you. And I will tell you that the more successful you are, the more of a challenge this is. I heard a dentist talking the other day. He's a retiree, and he went through almost 18 months of, kind of depression because his identity was taken from him. He had so much of identity in his work. He said that because he was the dentist, when he walked into a room, everyone paid attention to what he said. Now he walks into a room, hardly anybody notices, because his identity was in his profession, and now it's been taken from him, or he released it in his case. So the challenge is now, who are you going to be? Who do you want to be? You get to decide what your new identity is, because in retirement, everything changes, including who you believe you are. And the fourth thing I like to highlight as an illustration of what changes in retirement is that of your money. By far, money will drastically change when it comes to retirement. If you think about it, all the years you've been working and saving up and things like that, you've been kind of climbing the mountain. And so there's certain rules and things that happen on this side of the mountain, but then you peak, you retire, if you will, and then you have to start coming down the mountain. And I can tell you that coming down the mountain is a lot more different than going up the mountain. I've heard one time, I don't know if it's true, but I heard somebody said it or quoted or read it or something like that more people die on Mount Everest coming down than going up. And I've never climbed Mount Everest, but I have climbed Mount Fuji back when I was in the Marine Corps in Japan. And I can tell you, going up was a lot easier than coming down, because going up, you're excited. You have a thing you're looking forward to. You know where you're going. There's mile markers and things to kind of keep you going along the way up. And then you summit, and then you go back down. But now you've been hiking for all these hours. You're tired. You just want to be done. You just want to get it over with. And it's a lot more physically and mentally challenging going down the mountain than up. And so with money, it all changes. Instead of putting money in, you're taking money out. And there's different rules associated with that. There's different risks associated with it. All those market fluctuations that used to really help you when you're climbing the mountain now can really hurt you going down. Inflation, tax brackets changes, the death of a spouse, all the decisions you have to make when it comes to Social Security and pension. Do I take the lump sum or do I take the annuity pension amount? With Medicare, all your investing changes, right? Everything changes with your money. When it came to investing, your money had one job, basically to grow. Grow as much as you can, as fast as you can. But as you're coming down the mountain, you don't have just one job. Your investment accounts don't have one job. It has three. It needs to provide you income because you're taking money out. It needs to be protected for downside risk. So it's kind of like a protection element to it. And then yet we still need it to grow, because the future you, if you're in your 60s or 50s, you still need money to grow and outpace inflation well into your 80s. Right? So now instead of having one job, your investments have three jobs. Right? So everything changes in retirement. I recently read a blog post from Fritz Gilbert. He writes at the Retirement Manifesto. He's been retired now for 6 years. He retired in 2018. It's now 2024. And he wrote this blog post, and I'm just going to read you the summary points here because I think it illustrates my point from a retiree perspective. In his blog post, the 6 lessons he's learned from the 6 years of retirement. Number 1 is retirement is complex. I wholeheartedly agree with Fritz. Number 2, retirement changes with time. Number 3, your retirement will be different than what you expect, for sure. Number 4, your priorities will change throughout retirement, which is very true. What is important in the early part, the go-go years, will be different than the latter part, the no-go years, if you will. He said, number 5, mindset matters a lot. And number 6, retirement can be the best years of your life. Totally agree. But it's up to you, he says. So therefore, for all these reasons and a whole host more that we don't have an opportunity to get into today, you need a plan. You need to begin flushing out a retirement plan. Imagine what it would be like to have a retirement plan where you and your spouse are totally in agreement of what you're going to do with your money, what you're going to do with your time, what you're going to do with your relationships, what you're going to do in this next phase of life. That's what retirement planning does. As we conclude today's show, if you're still with me and you're finding this information helpful, I'd encourage you to subscribe so you'll be notified of more future episodes. Today, we talked about how in retirement, everything changes. If you're concerned about your retirement and you want to know you're on track, considering engaging in a True Wealth assessment. It's a financial checkup of sorts. It'll help you determine if you're retirement ready or at least on a good track to be. It'll give you an idea of where you stand holistically, access to right capital to help you make some decisions, and give you a list of recommendations that will enhance your path to retirement. You can find links below. If you already have a plan, a good micro action might be to have a conversation with someone about retirement. It doesn't have to be a big secret. In fact, the more you talk about it, the more normalized it becomes, and the better the experience will be. So I'd encourage you to have a conversation with someone. It could be your spouse, it could be a friend, it could be a coworker, it could be your financial advisor. But begin having a conversation with them about what you want to expect and what you would like your retirement to be, and maybe ask them, get curious, hey, when you think about retirement, what are you going to do with your time? Hey, when you retire, how are you going to keep some good connections? The more you talk about it, it'll get you thinking about it and being more curious about it, about what you want your retirement more to look like, which we'll talk more about in following episodes. But remember, in retirement, everything changes. I hope you find this information helpful on your journey to a retirement that is enjoyable, prosperous, and purposeful. Have a great day. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this week's episode of the True Wealth Financial Show. I encourage you to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Additionally, you can find more information on our website at www.truewealth.show. One final note, though, as we wrap up to today's show. While I hope the information was helpful, valuable, and insightful, it's really for information and educational purposes only. Prior to making any decisions or taking any actions, I'd strongly encourage you to talk to your legal, tax, estate, or financial advisor who's familiar with the unique circumstances of your particular personal situation. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, hope you have a great day.